everybody, welcome to season 3 of What's IGN Crashing On. I'm Caryn Solomon and I'm your host. And we're here to talk about what's hot in pop culture. Welcome to episode 7 of What's IGN Crashing On. Today, we are joined by two old friends of mine, Stephen Nagel and Dean Ravell. Am I saying your names right?
Yes.
Welcome, guys.
I love how you were like old friends of ours, but like, oh my word, am I saying your name right? It's like nice.
Yeah, but you know But they have a new short film out called MIA&I, which tells the story of an artificial intelligent woman who becomes a companion to a very much real woman, and I don't know, how do I say, the conflict that ensues, because I don't want to give away spoilers. But we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. It's now available to rent on Vimeo on demand. But we also joined by Leanne. Say hi, Leanne.
Hi, how's it going? How was your week?
That's been good. I forgot you were here for a second.
I know, just being a MIA&I artificial intelligence person.
You should have been like, hi, welcome, Caryn.
Next time.
So guys, I want to talk about like going back to the cinema, because it's been such a difficult 2 years for the movies, and I know that you guys are all, I mean, I think we're all on that same like level of, we would go to the movies alone. We loved going so much. So okay, I'm gonna start with you, Stephen, because you're on the end of my panel here. But what is the first movie that you saw, and how did it feel going back to the cinema?
Okay, so for me I think it was Shang-Chi, like more recently, that I saw going back to the cinema. And I saw it on IMAX, and it was such a big, bombastic experience, and very worthwhile going back. But I think for me, what I enjoyed about the whole experience is, just like, I know this sounds really weird, but the feel of the soft carpet in the cinema and the smell of popcorn, all of that, just bringing back those memories, because I love the cinema. So for me, it was such a joyous experience to be back like at the big screen. But I will say that I did cheat a bit, like over the last little while. Whenever it was locked down and it was like, the level would go a bit lower, and then the cinema would open up, I'd sneak in a screening on my own, like here and there. So I have like seen one or two over the last couple of years, but always safely. But yeah, it was a fun and interesting experience, and I'm happy that it's back.
And you, Dean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the first movie I saw. So in contrast to Nagel, I didn't like sneak in. I was like, for the last year and a half, I hadn't seen a movie in the cinema, which was very much not like something that you'd associate with me, because I'd be at the cinema like so frequently. But Shang-Chi was my first venture back into the cinema, and I mean, it's a Marvel spectacle, so seeing it on the big screen is something that you need to do. And obviously there were new protocols which felt a little bit weird. I mean, I went with a couple of friends and we had to do the whole skip a seat thing, and obviously there's masks protocols and all that kind of stuff, so it's a little bit different. But at the same time, same with Nagel, like that feeling of being back in the cinema, in those seats, on the big screen. It was just something that I missed for such a long time, and obviously because we had gone to the movies like almost every weekend before that. So I mean, and I know you're quite familiar with that as well. I mean, we've seen movies together as well. So like, I can't wait for the lineup of movies that are coming out. Like No Time to Die, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to in the next couple of weeks. And Dune, Eternals, obviously, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Like it's amazing. It's such, like, we're spoiled with the content that are coming out the next couple of months, and I'm just so happy we can be back in the big screen for it.
And Julian, what are your movies?
I think, definitely it was, Shang-Chi was the first one. And I mean, my husband is a major movie fiend. He was like a small kid when I say like 2 hours before we were meant to leave, he was like starting to pace around the house because he was like, "We're going to the cinema." I was like, "You need to calm down." Because yeah, there's nothing like the cinema experience when the lights go out and the trailers start, and like it just it was just a bit weird because like there are protocols, but depending on the cinema and the people in it, like not everyone's adhering to the protocols. So it was like fantastic because I missed people reacting in a cinema, if that makes
Mm.
sense. But then it was also after a year and a half of just watching movies with me and my husband, like to then all of a sudden have people like chewing popcorn loudly or like laughing at weird bits. I was like, why are they so loud? So it's like one of those weird social interactions you have to get used to again. But yeah, very excited for. I actually think Bond is going to be the next one we go see. And then interested in the Last Duel, which Last Duel, the one with
Julia.
Adam Driver and Jodie Comer.
Yeah,
I'm
Ridley
actually
Scott
kind
one.
of keen to see that because I feel like I haven't seen a period like that sort of drama in the movies in a while. Like so keen on a period piece at the cinema.
I actually didn't think I was like, oh, I don't miss it that much. I'm fine at home. And then I was like, when I went back, I was like, no, there's nothing like this. Like, I think I
Absolutely.
could actually, I would like to keep the skipper seat. Like, I don't like people too close to me. I'm
Yeah,
good
yeah.
with
Good
that.
call.
I
Good
agree
call.
with that.
Yeah, that's
It's
actually a good
actually
call.
really
Yeah.
nice. You have like your space and you can
Yeah,
like,
you have more
you can
space.
Yeah.
relax.
There's no fighting over cup holders. Oh, it's a dream. It's an absolute
Sure,
dream.
lekker.
You put your popcorn and stuff on the one chair, your
Yes.
bag on the other chair. It's the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I'm quite excited for Dune. Um, I've never read the books, and I hated the other movie, but I'm
Oh, the
still
David Lynch
excited.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know there's like
Yeah,
cult
I'm also
followers, but I was like, I don't get this. I don't. It just wasn't for
Yeah.
me. But
Yeah.
Stephen, what are
I mean,
you
the
excited
cast.
to watch? Sorry.
No, 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 it's cool. It's cool.
so for me, Dune I think is the next big one. I've seen the new Bond movie,
Mm,
which was amazing. Sorry, my dogs are making a noise in the background. Apologies for that. Um, Yeah, so Dune is the next one that I'm looking forward to. I'm a big fan of the book, and I'm a big fan of Denis Villeneuve. So
mm,
I think he's one of the best directors working today. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do um, with that film because like you, I'm not a fan of David Lynch's Dune
mm.
because it's the one film from him that I don't like I actively dislike. It's bad, and I'll get a lot of backlash for saying that.
Apparently, he doesn't like it either. Eh? Like I
Yeah,
read
he's
Yeah,
like
recently, he's
so
just
he
like
wants
not
to
a
take his
fan.
name
Yeah.
off.
I guess how the man
Yeah.
has spoken. So yeah,
Mm,
but I'm looking forward to Dune. That's probably biggest on my list, and then Eternals and No Way Home as well.
mm. Oh, I'm so excited. So talking about like big name properties. So the House of Dragon Game of Thrones prequel dropped this week. So what are you guys excited for it? Are you ambivalent? How do you feel? Steven? Go first. Or
Okay,
Dean?
so I didn't actually care about this because of the way Game of Thrones ended. You know me, I'm
Mm,
like a huge fan of Game of Thrones, like buying all the merch and like always hyping up every season that came out and like getting every season on Blu-ray or DVD. And then like from season six on, they just like completely destroyed it and made it crap. So I wasn't looking forward to this. I was like, no, I don't actually care. But it feels like there's a lot of like competence in this in terms of the creative team, and there's a lot of yeah. I mean, George R. Martin is involved himself, and I also think that like David Benioff and DB Weiss or Weiss whatever, they were kind of like handed the keys to the kingdom, and they didn't necessarily deserve it. They just knew R plus L equals J, and then they got like the keys
mm,
to the kingdom. So the fact that like these are like actual directors from Game of Thrones, like Miguel Sapochnik is one of the
mm,
showrunners, and I mean many of these episodes were amazing. So I'm optimistic about where it's gonna go, but I wasn't that interested. And then I saw there was black people in Game of Thrones, and I was like, yes, You know,
Representation, yo.
what is that family's name though? Like, cause I never read the books really, so I don't know. Like, I think it's
I
something like the
think it's
Valadians or
yeah,
the
Valerians,
Valerian, yeah.
okay,
but
I
cool.
think so.
VEL.
Yeah, it's a different
Yeah,
spelling.
Mm.
yeah.
So I'm excited for them. Like, I want to see what their vibe is.
And you, Dean?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, obviously, season 8 of Game of Thrones hurt us all, and obviously left a bad taste in our mouths. But I mean, the world is so dense, and the Targaryen history is so interesting. I mean, it dates back. Obviously, this takes place 200 years before Game of Thrones, so it just tells you how much rich history there is. And as Nagel
Mm.
said, George R. R. Martin's involved in it. So, I mean, I think we barely scratched the surface in Game of Thrones with regards to the Targaryen history. And this trailer got me so hyped. I can't wait to see Matt Smith as Daemon
Mm.
Targaryen. Like, I think I love Matt Smith. I think he's fantastic. And I mean, whether or not I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch it live is another story, because that's what I did with Game of Thrones. It remains to be seen. But yeah, I'm actually quite excited for it. Yeah.
I was like not into it because obviously the way that the Game of Thrones ended, but also because I really wanted the other prequel, the Age of I mean like the Age of Heroes one with Naomi Watts, because I was so interested in that time period. I'm like, oh my gosh, but enough about the Targaryens. But then I saw this trailer, and I was like, oh man, damn it, I'm in it again. I want to watch this. I want to
They
know
got me.
more. Yeah, I
Yeah, they
know.
got us. Got
They
him.
they they know how to do it, man.
Yeah,
My
true.
my friend last night was like, she was like, I'm nervous for the amount of incest that's gonna be in in the show, and I'm like, there's gonna be tons. This is like the incest generation.
Exactly.
Yeah. We
The
were actually
Targaryens are
talking.
like known for incest.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like just everyone, and they all have the same names. Like it's just so incestuous as well. Like, but we were also talking about like because this is a Targaryens thing. Like, how many dragons are going to be in each episode? Like all the time. Like
Mm,
because, like remember, because when they were obviously a smaller part of Game of Thrones, not smaller part, but like obviously there were
yeah.
Starks and all the other families. This is largely a Targaryen thing. So are we just going to see dragons flying everywhere every episode? Like, how much is that CGI budget going to be? Like, it's going to be quite interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be amazing because that's the time when there were like tons of dragons and they were huge ones also. So
Yeah,
I'm quite
exactly.
excited. They better do a good job of it.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah, I have hope.
I remember I remember when like there used to be like a dragon centric episode, and then there would always be like a wave of news that like, oh, this took this percentage of the seasonal budget, and you're like, holy crap. And then like, so now I wonder how that's going to be, you know what I mean? Because there's like dragons all over the show during this period apparently. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So now they're probably gonna budget specifically. Remember, like when the dragons use up all the budgets and we just stopped seeing the dire wolves, like we couldn't
Yes,
see them
exactly.
anymore
They were like, we can't fit them into the
Exactly.
budget anymore.
because the dragons just took up all the budget. But yeah, no, but maybe like I feel like probably because Game of Thrones is so successful, they're probably giving so much money to the show, and
Yeah, HBO I
it's
think
like
is putting a lot of stake in these kind of like big budget like tentpole shows basically. So yeah, I think I agree. I think they're not going to be shy with the budget that they're giving to it.
but even like I mean the smallish like his Dark Materials like that show's budget is also like the CGI in that show is amazing. Like I'm like for sure that's not it's not a Game of Thrones, but like like the way it looks like if you show like put that show next to like Game of Thrones season 1, like it's amazing. But I mean I suppose the technology has also changed so much. Um what is I gonna ask you now? Um ah Never mind. I don't know. Oh, I was gonna say, even if you look at the new Eternals, like if you look at like the shit that they're doing on there, like it's everything looks stunning.
Yeah, and Chloe Zhao as well is like so fantastic at like
Yo.
what she like storyboarding and knowing exactly what she wants visually as well. So I think yeah, no, it's one of the things. I think they're really hitching their bets on Eternals. I think it's going to be a game changer in the MCU. I'm really excited to see it.
Hmm.
Also, I know
And it's so soon.
we were talking about Game of Thrones, but just to add on for Eternals, like why I'm so excited about that is because Chloe Zhao comes from like a completely different type of cinema, like independent and like using lots of natural light, and she keeps a lot of that look for Eternals. So you have um like these amazing like sunrises or sunsets, and then you have like the CGI creature in the mix there. So I like that blending. Um, and I think it's a very unique look for an MCU film as well. So. I mean, if you watch like films like The Rider, for example, and even what's the latest one with Francis McDormand? Nomadland.
No Midland.
Um, yeah, I mean, like lots of natural light and wide open landscapes. So you see some of that in the trailers for Eternals. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's a very unique visual kind of approach to a Marvel film. So yeah,
Hmm.
just thought I'd mention that. I know we were talking about House of the Dragon, but yeah, gotta
No,
get
no,
that.
no, it's fine. We go where the conversation takes us, Stephen. We go.
Yeah.
Um, but I also wanted to chat about, okay, so this Friday was the Ted Lasso finale, and I know you guys are both big fans of Ted Lasso. So what did you guys think of season two? Okay, Dean, we can start with you.
Okay, okay, cool. As a huge football fan and like a huge Jason Sudeikis fan from like stretching back to his SNL days, like obviously Ted Lasso was my show. Like I loved it,
Mm,
everything about it, like the vibe, the humor, the fact that they brought in all these different like characters, and made it more of an ensemble show. Even though it's called Ted Lasso and we focused on him at the beginning, they really made it about the ensemble, especially in season two. I felt like we needed like a positive upbeat show like this, especially in the last like couple of years. And they really delivered. Like every Friday, I needed to watch the latest episode. And obviously this past finale was incredible. I love what they did with Nate's character all season. I like they were really like just chipping away at his sanity and
Yeah.
also just like creating this villain, like that moment in the store with the mirror where he like spits at himself. I was just like, that is such a huge character moment. Like I love that. There was like a Darth Vader moment. I was just like, it's so good. And obviously like Roy and Keely's like perfect but not so perfect relationship made for great viewing, especially in the last, I'd say, couple of episodes. Early in season two I was a bit worried about the lack of a clear antagonist because obviously in the first season Rebecca's character was kind of like undermining Ted and obviously the villain, but they kind of reconciled or kind of like squashed that whole thing at the end of the first season. And then in season two there wasn't so much a villain or antagonist, but they were focusing more on character flaws and
mm,
vulnerabilities, which I thought was a really, really good masterstroke. So I really enjoyed season two. I love Sam Richardson as well. I'm a big fan of him, and his cameo in the finale was so good. I laughed so loud, especially that last scene was ridiculous. But yeah, overall, I was a massive fan, and I can't wait for season three.
mm. And you, Stephen?
Yeah, so when I started Ted Lasso, I wasn't a big fan because like straight out the gate, like the first episode and that I was like, oh look, it's some guy from the States who's getting a job that he's probably not qualified for. And I was very cynical about it and all
Mm,
that. But I think it won me over, like as we moved through season one and kind of like it's so wholesome and you meet all these interesting characters. And yeah, I think they're taking a very big swing with season two ending in that way, and like the way they built Nate up, and it looks like they're making him like a real true antagonist. So I think that's cool, and like I saw it being telegraphed um throughout the season, and especially like the I think it was the funeral episode where Rebecca's ex just like leans into him and says something in his ear, and I was like, that's the moment. He's
oh,
probably going to be doing something after that. So so yeah, I found it was pretty cool. The writing also it's so consistent and so good from week to week. It's like the characters just feel so authentic and real. You know what I mean? So whatever they're doing in that writers' room, it's like it's magic. Like compared to what other
mm,
shows are doing, it's really on another level. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see where they go with the story, and I love the fact that they made it more of an ensemble show. Like they're not just focusing on it. Like that for me was the best thing they could have done. And it seems
mm,
like it was always the plan. because I think it's way more interesting than just focusing on Ted Lasso himself. Um, and yeah, if you look at the amount of screen time that all the other characters get, it's kind of like fairly evenly split across the board. I think also a good kind of subplot in season two for me was Ted's kind of relationship with Dr. Sharon. You know, like
Yeah.
them kind of navigating mental health. I thought that was really, really interesting. And both of them kind of learning from one another and developing a friendship at the end of the day. I thought that was really sweet. And also, I know it's just very cool to see mental health being portrayed that way on screen with care,
Mm.
you know what I mean? So yeah, I thought that was quite cool.
And I think it also like it humanized Ted a lot because with the like the positivity thing, it didn't seem like something a normal person wouldn't be that positive all the time. And to kind of understand like where it comes from and why he's like that, sort of make him like he seems more like a proper character than a caricature or something like that. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely, I
agree.
really love the show. I'm I don't know what it is. I don't know when last a show that's not a reality show has got me so excited to watch every week. And the way that show has just like pulled me in. I I I would have like the one thing like I did have a problem with is like I do think that some like the standalone episodes, even though it was interesting, I think it kind of like it just felt a little bit out of place. So like the
Sure.
the Coach Beard one and
The Coach
stuff.
Beard one. Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I enjoy like I want to know more about Coach Beard, but I didn't want it to take away from like what's happening in all the other, all, they really
Sure.
built up
Yeah.
what's happening in the story too much. Um
Yeah.
and I would have liked to see like Ted's reaction to what happens in the finale with Nate. Like
Yeah.
at the in the time jumps. Um
Yeah.
Also, this is what I was thinking about. I was like, if I was Sam Richardson and I was trying to get Sam to come over, I would have taken him to a museum and say, "Can you see all these African things on display for the Europeans? You are one of them."
Yeah.
That's what I would have said. I was like,
Yo,
Yo, that's brilliant actually. Wow.
decolonize your mind.
Yo, telling me to Killmonger.
"Yeah, that's what you say." I'm like, "Why is he taking him to a museum?" That was the logical point for me. But anyway,
Yeah.
he didn't say that.
Oh, but that's
He
such
just
a
started
that's a
making.
brilliant line. Oh my goodness, that's so good.
You
But
should be in the
anyway.
writers' room,
Yeah, you
Karen.
should be.
You
Yeah,
should.
you should literally just pop in and be like, "Here's the golden line that's gonna
Yeah,
do everything,"
here's
and
the
then just pop
African
out
line
again.
too. Yeah, being put me in with Jamie Lee. Jamie Lee is one of the writers, no? One of the
Yeah,
comedians. I think
yeah.
so. Uh,
And Phoebe
um,
Walsh and Brett Goldstein's also actually a writer as well. Roy Kent. Yeah, and Ashley Nicole
yeah, he
Black.
started
Yeah,
as
they've
a
got it.
writer,
He did. Yeah,
and
Yeah,
then
he
he
was
was like,
talking about it. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
"No, you go."
No, I think it was in the episode with that he did on his podcast with Barry Jenkins where he was saying that he was invited as a writer and then he actually um read the character and he said like I could do this and then
Mm,
he made a tape, he self-taped and he sent it to them and he was like, listen here, if this works for you, I'll do the part, but if it doesn't, just make as if you've never seen this, just
yeah.
destroy the tape. And they were like, no, this actually works, and the rest
So,
is history.
do
So
you
yeah,
know
that
what's
was
funny?
actually quite
What's
cool.
funny about that as well, right? I was listening to an earlier podcast of his because he has a podcast called Films to Be Buried With, and he did an episode with Jack Whitehall, and this was in 2018, and they were talking about like how there aren't any good TV shows or films about soccer or like football, and obviously that was predating Ted Lasso, and they actually made like Jack
mm.
Whitehall was like, oh, I heard Jason Sudeikis like it's apparently a thing that's happening, and obviously Brett Goldstein had no idea about it, but it was so weird listening to it now that
Yeah.
he's part of the show, and like that was back before it, like it was so interesting. But I just I thought that was really cool.
I also love like the juxtaposition between him as a person and Roy Kent. Like he gets so excited and he's like he's
It
such a
does,
fanboy. And like
yeah,
every time he's like on a different show being interviewed, like
yeah.
or he's like chatting or like somebody else mentions the show that like he's a fan of. He gets so excited and I'm like, oh man, and And Roy
Yeah,
Kane's like not impressed by
Yeah, not
anything.
at all. And
yeah.
he's such a
He's
cinephile as well, which I love. I love the
yes,
fact that
Hmm.
he knows so much movies. It's amazing.
he's such a geek in general. Like he's one of us. It's like it's cool.
and and Roy Kane's like just like no,
Yeah,
whistle,
full
whistle.
business.
You're my
Whistle.
favorite.
That's one of my favorite jokes in the whole thing. Whistle. Because he was
My
like,
lips
it's so
curled up.
sensitive. Yeah, my lips.
Impure me. Impure. Oh gosh, I love him so much.
Oh, it's so funny.
Okay, so talking about cinephiles. So guys, okay, let's talk about Mia and I. So
Cool.
where did you guys come up with the idea for the film? Like, start us off.
Okay, so this was like I would say 2018, 2019. I was a big fan of Black Mirror and like but like back in the day before it landed on Netflix. So I used to love it, and I was like, you know what? I want to try like making a story like that in the vein of Black Mirror, where it's like, grounded in reality, but there's this near future tech that's involved, and just to see how human beings interact with that technology, and how that can, turn out. And it's Black Mirror tends to have like a bit of a dark tone to it, so that's kind of like what I was going for. And then it was kind of like a shell of an idea about a companion and android companion and a human being like having this very meshed together weird relationship. And then I pitched it to Dean, and then we just started writing it. So initially we wrote like a very short script, and then, yeah, we just decided we're going to do this because what happened was what we've been doing for the last 10 years is just kind of like writing short films and just making them, just shooting them on our own. And yeah, so this was just like another project, and it was like the most ambitious one we decided to do so far. And yeah, I think the story just took a hold, and I find it difficult to talk about the story without spoiling anything, so I don't necessarily
Yeah.
want to spoil it. Um, but go and watch Me and I. But yeah, so I think that's kind of where it came from. It was just that desire to kind of tell this interesting uh tech story with like grounded characters, basically. So yeah.
So talk me through like the making of the movie, because I mean, you guys talk about how it's like was created on a budget, and but it's like it's very, like, as you say, ambitious, but it's like it's a really great movie for being made on a budget. Like the amount
Yeah.
of like effects and like how it looks and everything. So yeah, talk us through how like
Okay,
the
so
making.
the film was made on a budget of about 20,000 rand, which is absolutely ridiculous because it's got a running time of like
Yeah,
46 minutes.
46 minutes. Yeah.
So that's like absolutely unheard of. Um, but we've been making films like on very low budgets for years, so we understand like how one does that, and it does take like a lot of support from people around you, whether it's family, friends, um, collaborators who are in the industry as well, willing to actually give their time for free, and also just like your own time as well, just kind of like grinding away. So what we did was we actually pitched the story to one of our actors from a previous short film, Nicola. She starred in Day Zero that we did, and then she wanted to come on board as a producer and help us kind of like crowdfund it. So we ran a crowdfunding campaign in 2019 to raise the funds. Um, and we were expecting to get like to do this whole thing on like 15K because we had a much shorter script and we didn't think it was going to be as big as big as it was. And then we were overwhelmed with the response to our crowdfunding campaign, and we got like an extra 5 grand basically to film this thing. And I think a lot of that money went into the logistics of shooting, like renting gear and you know um, like props and costumes and things, and then also petrol money. So So yeah, I think like for the most part, the film is more not. I wouldn't say more. I would say it's just as much crowdsourced as it is crowdfunded. So what I mean when I say that is a lot of the budget went into the logistics and the props and the physical elements, and then the crowdsourcing was the actual cast and crew that came on board and collaborated with us essentially for free. So that's how we pulled it off. Um, we didn't pull it off like we as the whole pulled it off. Yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't
because I think
work
it's
on
a
audio.
yeah, the gestures don't really work on audio. But yeah, I think the main difference between this and some of the other films that we've done was that we had such specialized people coming on board and helping us. Because I mean, Caryn, you helped out on day zero as a script supervisor. Nagel and I were doing a lot of the key roles on the film, so we were kind of like a two-man band in that sense. But in this one, we had a very talented cinematographer, present company's husband, Stephen Phillipson. So that was fantastic. That took a weight off our shoulders. And obviously we had a script supervisor. We had in day zero, I was holding the boom mic,
Yeah.
and this time we had someone who actually knows what they're doing with the boom mic. So that was fantastic. So we had a lot of really good specialized people come on and help us then direct the film, and direct the actors and make sure that the vision was what we had envisioned. So yeah, that's I think that's what sets it apart from all the other films that we've done previously. And obviously the fact that we got so much support, like Nagel said, from people that were willing to do it for free, really helped us get it over the line and make sure that we use the budget well.
So, I mean, I know you guys said you wrote and you worked on this in like 2018, 2019. But did you kind of like foresee the fact that it kind of like it loops in with the whole COVID vibe? Like the isolation, the depression, the kind of like the needing of a companion. So, yeah.
It's actually so funny because when I first read the script, because as you mentioned, my husband worked on it and I was going to be involved at some point. And it was so funny because it actually, at the time you guys had written, it was very much playing on the ESCOM load shedding narrative. And then actually the delay with COVID made it so much more relevant because of COVID, because then ESCOM became like a back feature. Although now we're back in it, so
Now
who
it's back.
knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, it always comes
Full
around. The wheel
circle,
always
full
turns. Yeah,
circle. But yeah, I think that like the delay actually helped because it meant that the plot became so much more. It's interesting.
Mm. Yeah, I think that was just kismet, it just happened that way. And sometimes that does happen, like your stories, the resonance of your stories grow. And I think the reason that that has happened because at the heart of me and I is the characters, you know what I mean? So, and Sophie is someone dealing with depression and mental health issues. And that was very important for us to kind of portray in an authentic and like kind of like a real way, you know what I mean, and not a way that's exploitative, you know what I mean. So that was very important for us, and I think now because a lot of people are dealing with that because of the times we're having, I think it's just more resonant with a lot of people in that sense. So yeah.
I thought of like I was like, you after COVID, you're going through like this whole like during COVID, like this recluse stage. And I'm like, oh, now you have to go back out in the world. And like a part of me was like, oh no, I'm scared to go back out in the world. And then I'm like, sure, but just now a AI comes and take oh, spoiler.
Love
So
the
I was
time
like,
scroll. Live your
that's
life.
let me just stop myself in time. But you guys know what I mean.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't, yeah, that's a warning for me in my life. Let me just,
yeah.
Yeah.
Cautionary tale. Yeah,
yeah, it's a cautionary tale. And I just want to say, like, without spoiling, I really love the ending. Like, oh, it was perfect for me. Perfect.
Mm.
thank you.
Um,
Yeah,
Thank you.
we were worried that like some people, without giving it away, we were worried that it was maybe not going to land as well. As because we were like, it's a bit, I don't know, open ended, so to say.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it was a masterstroke on our end to actually do that, because it kept people talking afterwards, and the discussions afterwards was so great. So yeah.
Mm. It's like the spinning top.
That's always the interesting thing
Yes,
about
Yes,
writing.
it's exactly right, Karen. You nailed it. We
actually,
referenced
it
that.
is. Yeah,
Yeah, we were like,
but
this is
okay.
the Inception ending, and
It's
I
the
can't believe you
perfect
just
ending.
I can't believe you just pulled that out. That's amazing. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're trading very close
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
we
Okay.
actually
Yeah. Okay.
are.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
this
Okay.
is
Okay. So,
yeah.
so what are you guys working on next?
Um, so we've got a couple of things in the pipeline. I okay, so the contacts and details haven't been signed yet, but we have something in active development. I'm just putting it out there
Oh,
in the
wow.
world. We do have something in active
Yay.
development, a short film. So that's one thing I'll just touch on lightly. And then we have been in conversation with uh, a producer to produce one of our other feature scripts. So yeah, we're hoping for the best, but I think the whole point of MIA&I was to kind of like put it out into the world and show to producers and broadcasters that look, we are here, look what we can do with a 20,000 rand budget. Imagine what we could do with the support and infrastructure of like a
Mm.
full production. We've got the stories, we're ready to tell them.
Absolutely.
So
It's like a
so yeah, I
calling
think
card
that
basically for us.
yeah. So I mean that's what we've got in the pipeline, and then we are considering also possibly filming a short next year sometime, which we haven't written yet. But we've got a lot of support from like friends and even some of our backers who have offered up locations for us to shoot at, pretty awesome locations after seeing BNI. So yeah, we're gonna in a few weeks' time we're gonna go scout those and then see which of our stories in our draw of hundreds of
Mm.
stories that we have would fit in best with kind of those locations. And yeah, I think that's the plan. Just keep creating. That's the plan. That's all we want to do. So yeah.
Mm. So, what do you think is like the biggest lesson that you've learned during this, like this time, like with Mia and I and your previous films?
I think the biggest one, like that I've learned personally, is like collaboration is key. Like we have the skills to write a good script, and we can, obviously we've learned and done a lot of running and gunning and stuff. But like collaboration with people who are very specialized and actually know what, like know exactly, or always in line with our vision. Basically, that's so great because it takes some of the pressure off of us, and it allows us to make a really really great film sometimes in a short space of time on a limited budget, as is the case with independent filmmakers. These are the limitations. So it obviously helps to have as many talented and well experienced hands on deck. So I think that was the most important thing for us, because obviously Nagel and myself have been doing our thing for like just over 10 years, and we've had to build this kind of network of collaborators that has now become like this really really substantial and trusted network. We've got people, actors, DOPs, sound people, script supervisors, sound designers and composers. We've worked with them so much now that we've created this kind of, for lack of a better phrase, family of collaborators. That's really really, I think that's the biggest thing for us over the last few years, is just understanding that it's a collaboration, as more than anything else.
And you, Stephen?
So yeah, like I would say, just to riff off what Dean was saying as well, I think it's also just about connection, and just connecting with people and the right people, and in a way that's kind of organic and speaks to the art that you're trying to create. So I think that's important because you never know where an opportunity to create something new is going to come from. So I think just um, meeting people, talking to people, and putting your work, like showing your work and putting it out into the world, I think that's very important. Which is difficult for introverts, and I consider
Mm.
myself an introvert. Um,
Same.
so yeah, like
Same.
I think
Huh.
that's yeah, I mean, like that's a whole other podcast in its own about like how it's so difficult for introverts to kind of like navigate a world that's designed for extroverts who are just shouting about
Mm.
what they're doing all the time. But yeah, I won't go on a tangent. But yeah, I think just connecting with people and in an authentic manner. I think that's something I've definitely learned over the last little while, and just keeping those people in your life. Um, yeah, I think that's important to creativity.
Okay, and then let's ask the question we always ask. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Okay, I
Nigel, do you
got
want to go
mine.
first? Okay, you
Okay.
got this. Go, go, go.
So I'm pretty sure it's Nigella Lawson. Yeah, yeah. So I think that,
Your
yeah, I
first
think,
your first crush, Nigel. First crush,
yeah, I think
Nigel.
Nigella.
so. I
Okay.
think so. Yeah. I'm thinking back in the day, I saw her like on TV cooking something, and I was like, wow, the way she cooks, eh? Damn. Um, but yeah, I
Oh my
still have that
word.
crush to this day. And she replied to me on Twitter, and I was like, I had butterflies in my stomach. So I think, yeah, it's definitely Nigella for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I had so many like crushes, just like local ones, like on KTV and YoTV and all those kind of people. But like, and like I think the most iconic one is like Kimberly the Pink Power Ranger, because like I love Power Rangers
Yeah, I
when I was a
know.
kid, and
Loved
she
her.
was she was like the epitome of like like in that time coming of age. It was like, oh my word, she's like perfect. But I've had so many crushes like over the years. Like it's a problem for me. I know this, but like every show, there's always at least one chick who I'm just, oh, sorry, not chick, one woman who is, who I'm just like, wow, she's like, and then I just like, I'm in love with her. Basically, it's actual real
So,
problem.
who's your Ted
But
Lasso one?
my Ted Lasso one is actually Hannah Waddington, like
No.
Rebecca. It's just something about her. She's so poised and she's so like, she's actually really really beautiful. Like I love her. I think she's great. But you could literally like every show. I just my ultimate one is Alison Brie from Community.
Mm.
Because Community is one of my favorite shows, and Alison Brie is just inside and out. She's just amazing. Like not just even as Annie in the show, but just like Alison Brie in general. I could talk about her for a whole length of a podcast. I'm in love with her. But yeah, but yeah, basically that would be mine. Yeah.
Okay, so this is our final segment of the show, and we basically it's called Crashing On, and we talk about things that we are have been obsessing over the last like 2 or so weeks. So we'll let our guests go first. So Stephen, what have you been crashing on?
Okay, so is it only one thing?
You can do two.
Like the top. Okay, so for me, sex education. I'm late to this, but I started watching it, and I tried like I had a few full starts, and I wasn't a fan of like where it started out. Season one. I thought a lot of the characters were coded in kind of like a way that's like very generic. Um, but then I think like later on in season one and season two and season three, um the writing matures quite a bit. So I think it's a really important show in terms of expression, especially for young people. And I think it actually just showed me various perspectives on the things that young people go through, and like certain things that I went through when I was younger that I maybe didn't think about in the same way. So yeah, sex education is a very important show. It's funny as hell, but I think it's also just very important from like an educational standpoint for parents and I wouldn't say kids, but like teenagers maybe to watch. So yeah, that's the first one, and then the other one that everyone is talking about, Squid Game. And this one is really important for me I because it's a survival drama story, and it's not the kind of story that can be sold easily to a producer or to audiences. I mean, the creator tried for 10 years to get it made, but it just shows that like this kind of story can be really popular and can resonate with people around the world because of the themes that it carries. And I find that really inspiring as someone who writes genre film and series, um, that's not necessarily mainstream because you you can often get boxed in a lot as a creative, like, oh, this is what's popular, that's what's popular. We need this type of looking person, and we don't want that. Whereas Squid Game is kind of like breaking through all those barriers and saying, no, we can have a full cast of South Korean people, and it can be in a foreign language, and it can be about like it's the most violent thing on TV at the moment, and yes, yet it's the most popular thing in the world right now. So
Mm.
I think that just goes to show that um, every story deserves a chance. Is what I'm saying, and that's why I love it so much. And that's
Mm.
me.
And Eugene?
So, in keeping with what Nagel was saying about being late to the game, I've only started recently watching Teen Wolf for the first time.
Oh
So
wow.
I know. So like I've got like 6 seasons to watch, and I'm on season 4 at the moment, and I'm really enjoying it. Like I love it. I think it's got the right blend of action and drama and comedy, and everyone's like they bring the A game to it. And I'm trying to avoid spoilers because there's a movie announcement now. So like now everyone's like, oh, I wonder if so and so is coming back, and I'm like, but does and if they don't mention someone, I was like, oh no, did that person die? Because like I haven't seen all the way through it, and I'm just like, no. So I'm trying to avoid it. I'm obviously quite happy that Teen Wolf is getting a movie. That's fantastic because I'm just gonna ride that through. But I have to like finish it really quickly. But the thing is, I've been watching like 1 or 2 episodes every evening for like the past few weeks now. So I'm really really enjoying it. That's probably the one like series thing that I'm really obsessed with. And then we mentioned it earlier, but Brett Goldstein, who plays Roy Kent, has a podcast called Films to Be Buried With, and I'm really obsessed with that as well. I've been listening to podcasts in general a lot over the last like 2 years with the pandemic. I listen to a lot of entertainment ones. As I'm sure you do as well. So, like for instance, Dax Shepard's Armchair Expert and Life is Short with Justin Long and all those kind of ones. It's interview shows with celebrities that I really enjoy. But Brett Goldstein one is like it's so great because it's got this like unique twist on it, where they talk about movies that have significant like they have like what's the first movie you remember seeing, what's the movie that you love but other people don't love. So there's like all these different categories,
Mm.
and I love that they kind of dissect all of it. It's so great. I think it's a wonderful exercise to actually do, like to go through that whole thing and just like, what was the movie that changed your life? What was the like the first one you saw? What was the one that the scariest film or the one that made you cry or whatever? I love that. I think that's fantastic. And hearing people, celebrities, go through that is such a great thing. So those are the two kind of things I'm obsessed with at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. And Julianne?
I don't know. The last 2 weeks have been chaotic, so I felt like I haven't had time to get into anything. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube, and the thing I'm currently obsessed with is Solar Always cooking challenge with the New York Times. So she used to be part of Bon Appetit, and then I actually discovered her through Binging with Babish. I'm not sure if I spoke about it on the podcast before. It's this guy, and he's a chef, and he started out by recreating dishes from movies and TV shows. And it's really, really cool. But then he does like a couple of other things called Basics with Babish and Botched with Babish. And he's really funny and it's really cool, and you just learn a lot about cooking, and it's great. And Solar actually featured on there before moving on to New York Times. And it's her and her husband, and they get a mystery ingredient, and they get 1 hour to create dinner and a dessert. But like it's been weird things like coffee beans or pickles or peanut butter, and having to make a main meal out of peanut butter or Oreos, or it's just been so interesting to watch, and she's entertaining as hell. So yeah, I've been binging a lot of food stuff. Keeping in your Nigella theme, Steve.
Yeah. You know what? I'm actually thinking now, right? And I'm like, maybe I'm having like a Mandela effect or something here, but I'm like, I don't even know if Nigella was around like back in the day when I was like growing up. I don't know. I don't know where that happened.
I feel like she was. I feel like she had an
She
She
probably
SABC
was.
was.
show.
She
Yeah.
I
must
Yeah,
think
have,
she
yeah.
was, yeah.
I remember seeing it on like Sundays at my grandma's house or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I remember that. I
SABC
distinctly remember
3,
that.
it's very much
Yeah.
that vibe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, she did. No,
Okay.
she definitely did. I remember her from childhood as well.
I was hard embarrassed because I was like, am I just remembering something from like last week?
That's hilarious. For me, I have two shows this week. I binge watched season 2 of Dickinson, which is like the story of Emily Dickinson, but like it's hilarious because it's like it's like set in the 1800s, but they use a lot of like modern day like terms and it's so well written, it's hilarious, and it's like emotional, and like it's like Emily Dickinson herself, she was like a recluse, and she's known for like being stuck in the house. And the way they tell a story is so interesting. It's like you get that kind of aspect of her, but you also get to see like the woman she was, and like, you know, her going
Mm,
out, her having fun, her having friends, and that like,
Sure.
you know, that sort of, and why she didn't ever publish her poems, like because it's like she
Mm.
battles with like with fame, like does she want to die being nobody? In the second season, that's what she deals with, like, or does she want to be famous and constantly have to like struggle with criticism and like being and like comparing herself to other people's opinion of her. So, and it's like it's very interesting, and but it's also extremely funny, and I love it so much. And the second season was even better than the first. And then I watched, there's a new show also on Apple TV called Acapulco.
Mhm.
And so I'm reviewing it. So I watched all the episodes, but there's like two out now. But I love the show. It's like it's Spanish and English, and it's about this guy. It's like How I Met Your Mother type. He's like telling his nephew about his youth when he worked at this resort in Acapulco, and he's like this millionaire, and you're like, how did he get here? But then it's
mm,
like it goes back to the 80s, and he's just not like he's telling the story, and like it's like the characters are so well like written, and they just and it's just it's so funny. Like I was laughing all the time. But there's also like like the guy who plays the younger him is so charming, and you get so lost in the story that like you want to stay in the 80s, and you don't. But in the beginning I was like, oh, I hate it when they go back to the present time. But then by the end I'm like so keen to see what's going to happen in like the present day. Anyway, I don't know if I'm explaining this well, but like Acapulco, like if you're looking for something, it's not quite Ted Lasso, but if you're looking for something to kind of like fill that sort of like happy hole inside of you, then then um then Acapulco is it.
nope.
Cool.
When I
I'll add
when
it
I
to my watch
saw that
list.
when I saw that trending on Twitter, I was like, "Is this like an Acapulco Heat like reboot or something?" Because I don't know if you guys remember that show, Acapulco
No,
Heat.
I have no. What is
Yo,
that?
it was like this. Yeah, it was like an action fiction series from like
I remember it.
1993.
Yeah, I remember it vaguely. Like I just yeah, it's so like it's so
Is there
90s.
was a my
Yeah.
there was like a my Emily Eat also, wasn't there?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
Um.
I think it's
Yeah.
riffing off that. It's like a former MI6 person. It's like a CIA type. I don't even remember it,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
like it was like spy action vibes. Yeah. Yo, the pictures are crazy for this thing. It's so 90s.
Oh man, I
But
can
yeah, I'm glad it's
imagine.
not that. I'm glad it's not that.
Yeah, it's not
It's
that. It's not that. It's actually based sort of like on How to Be a Latin Lover. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
I've heard about it, but
I've heard
I've
of it.
not
Yeah,
seen it.
as well. I haven't seen it.
It's like this guy who's like a gigolo, but it's not like that. But it's
Is it
also
kind of like?
like,
Mm.
but
Is
it
it
has
kind of
this.
like Don Juan, like that kind of vibe to it? Or no, not so much.
No, and Don One is a lot more serious. This was like it
Mm.
was very much like it's like a guy who becomes like a gigolo who's like in the like and then like he marries like this older wealthy like sugar mama type woman, and then he like gets lazy and he just starts like living his life, and then she's like in her 80s, and then she dumps him for a younger guy,
Oh no.
and then he has to kind of like find out what he has to do. But
Oh,
that's
that's
not what the
wonderful.
show is about. But it's that
Okay.
same guy, Eugenio Derbez, and he also has a nephew in that show in that movie called Hugo. But it's that's not what the show is. I hope you don't.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
But thanks, guys, so much for joining us. This was lovely. Um,
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is amazing.
I'll put a link to the to watch MIA&I in the show notes and all the stuff. But
Sure.
but yeah, thanks so much. This was amazing.
Thank you.
The show is produced by me, Caryn, and Rebecca Barches. The show is edited and engineered by Rebecca Barches. Our admin is done by Leanne Phillipson. Our logo was designed by Nathifa Maroof. And the show was created in partnership with IGN Africa. If you like the show, tell everyone that you can, any way that you can. Keep up to date with our episodes by subscribing to the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And please rate and review the episodes on Apple Podcasts, as it helps others find the show. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another in-depth conversation with a pop culture lover. See you then.